Toyin Umesiri, author of Mindset of an Entrepreneur. Today, I have a very wonderful guest who is returning to us, Mr. James Odd. Such a pleasure to have you again.
It is
Thank
great.
you
It
for
is
being
great
here.
to be here again. I've been looking forward to this all day.
Yes, and you're in for a treat. And let me just quickly give you a very high level of him. And Mr. Hutt is the author of 2 sales leadership books, and he has over 28 years of experience leading, training, coaching sales teams, helping them break through personal and professional barriers so that they can sell more effectively and rediscover the joy in their work. Oh, don't we need that today, James?
Oh man, it's crazy. Yes, I think we need it anyway.
I
Yes.
believe so. I believe so. I need it too. So I'm going to walk away with more joy today.
Yeah, it'll be good. We'll have a good conversation.
So always a delight to have you. I know we already started chatting and talking, so I'm super excited for the conversation today. So the first question I have is, since the last time you came, you've released a new book. And so what's different from this book? Why did you feel the need to write it? What are you calling people to pay attention to within their work? And just share with us your thought process around that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the first book is really geared towards sales leaders. The second book is geared towards sales professionals.
Okay.
And the reason that I wrote the second book, as I continue to work with sales leaders and then subsequently their teams, I noticed what I'll call a behavior gap, meaning sellers who wanted to do better, but there was no real true end-to-end framework to help them execute. So that's the second book, is really an end-to-end framework to help you think about who you are as a seller, how you go to market as a seller, and the steps that you go through to help a prospect buy what you have.
So can I call it a personal development for sales professionals?
Yes. So if you sell something,
Okay.
the book would be for you.
Okay.
So whether it's a corporate sales job, maybe you're a service provider that sells for a living, like an attorney or an accountant, or just anyone who has something they sell to someone. Because I believe sales is sales. It's about people.
Yes.
And it's about process. How are you engaging with people on a consistent basis?
Right. And sales is one of those incredible skills that requires us to actually work on ourselves, deeply on ourselves.
Yeah, if you're going to get good at it. I always have a caveat there,
Okay.
because there's 2 stats that really resonate, just like ring in my brain every day. Sales training in the U.S. is a $70 billion industry,
Oh, wow.
and the average close rate is 20%, which is really low from my perspective.
Exactly.
So when I see those stats, my brain goes, something is broken. $70 billion to get below average. That's why I wrote the second book,
Right. Okay. Awesome.
if that makes sense.
Yes. So we're spending so much money learning how to sell, but when it comes to selling, 20, the close rate is low.
Low.
Could there be other implications of maybe, and that's some of the things we want to talk about in terms
Sure.
of the market condition, the
Yeah.
consumer marketplace, how people think about buying, the buying community, the economy. Because few weeks ago, I hosted a session where I talked about, in a low trust environment, the business owner has to do more to build trust. Right? Because when the
Yeah.
market is stable, when everybody's happy, when money is like flowing, GDP, monetary policies, when everybody, right, inflation rates, everything is going well, then the spending habits, right, in the marketplace is more relaxed. Right? People, when there's hope of tomorrow, when you know tomorrow is going to be okay, the news is not going to scare you, all of those things, then buying behavior makes us like, we spend, we're living life. However, this is where human behavior then comes in. When there's higher risk, when spending becomes a high risk, how do you convince people? How do you lower that risk for people to then
Yeah.
invest? So those are some of the things I'm experiencing and I'm seeing in the marketplace as well. And then for sales professionals, how do they respond or react to that change in the marketplace?
Yeah, that is a great question, because it is a crazy climate right now. So when you think about buyers, they are more informed than ever.
Yes.
They are less patient than ever.
Okay.
And they are more skeptical of pushy sales techniques
Right.
than ever. And they're spending less, like you said. I believe in a market like this, good salespeople are rewarded,
Yes.
because sales is not about, I think I said this last time we were together, high-level sales is not about convincing people to buy. High-level sales is helping someone make a decision to buy. And in a climate like we have today, if you are relying on scripts and gimmicks and things that you buy on the internet for $49 to give you the 100% close rate, then you're going to actually get worse.
Wow, you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Because that is the window of opportunity. That's the gap that needs to be filled, is the pressure. This is an opportunity for us to come back to the heart of sales.
Yeah.
The real heart of sales is service. It's offering people solutions, right, and serving them, helping them through their own journey. Everybody's on a journey. How do you support people on their own journey? And so, to your point, many sales professionals, the $70 billion industry you talked about, they may have been trained for a different environment, right? Where it's about just reaping the rewards of other people's years and years and years of nurturing other people. And now those tactics may not be working, because, to your point, consumers are more informed. I remember over 10 years ago, we did research at Walmart about the effect of the cell phone, digital acceleration, digital disruption. And one of the things we did come up with was what you said, is that this makes consumers extremely smarter.
Yeah.
Meaning we're smart as humans, but the access it gives us to the world out there, it means that any type of informational sales promotion, you have to offer something that the cell phone cannot offer, right? You have to tell people something that they cannot find somehow. So how do we navigate that?
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what the stat is. If somebody fact checks me, then they may let you know. I think it's in that 60 to 70%. So if I'm going to buy something, most buyers will be 60 to 70% of the way through their process or the information. That doesn't change my behavior as a seller. So think about that. So let's say I'm selling you something, and you've done your research online and ChatGPT, all these things that you use to do your research, and you call me up and say, I'm interested in something.
Okay.
I still need to know about your journey. Like where did you start? Like at some point something happened that made you create this need to buy whatever it is. So what happened? What have you done since then? So catch me up, and where are you today? So it doesn't change the fact that it's still a individual one-on-one type environment. Now, more tactical things you can purchase, it's going digital. Like, Amazon, I don't need anyone to do me a needs discovery on I need to buy a pair of scissors or anything like that. But if it's a service, or if it's some type of a more complex solution, I personally, maybe I'll be proved wrong, I don't know that people will be taken out of it.
No, I don't think so.
It still comes down to my ability to have a strategic high-level conversation,
Right.
to find out what it is that you are looking for,
Right.
and try to influence the outcome. I think sales is the most significant leadership role that we have. One of my mentors, John C. Maxwell, says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Influence is genuinely caring for and connecting with other people. Sales is about influencing the outcome. And you don't influence without genuinely, that's the key word, connecting with someone else. So your ability to connect in a genuine way,
Right.
that's why I don't like tactics. Tactics aren't genuine. If you try to, if you try to do a tactic without being genuine, then it's sleazy and people feel it. and they'll push back.
Right.
So if you genuinely want to serve and genuinely want to help and genuinely want to find out what's going on,
Right.
you're going to connect with that person,
Right.
which in fact is going to allow you to influence and
Right.
maybe present information in a way that they're not thinking.
Right.
Because that's really what high level selling is
Right.
how can I present information to get you to stop and go, okay, that's different. Why is that different? Well, let's have a conversation.
Right.
Because if I can't create some sort of different momentum, then I'm just like everyone else.
Right. And to me, I see these two sides of sales is that the message to the sales professional is connect. But it takes two to connect.
Haha, it does. It does.
Right?
Oh,
Right.
you want to go there?
So the other side is because their journey may have led them to places where they've lost trust.
That's right.
You see?
Yes.
And that's so the sales professional's job is like it's just getting more. You have to do so much more.
It is. Well, we can go an hour on this topic. So, yes, that most of us have had experiences with salespeople that make us cringe, which causes us to cringe before we have if we go to buy something, we're like, I got to go buy something. What's interesting is what you just said is the other person. So if I'm a seller and I'm selling to you,
Yes.
you have to want to be genuine as well. Here's the key. As a seller, I have to step into the arena first. I have to step into that area of vulnerability, genuineness. I can't make you be vulnerable and genuine. I can create an environment to invite you to do so. And when I do that well, it's going to allow you to go, okay, this is different. And you're going to say, okay, maybe I'll take a step, make a step towards this individual, which is that connection, which allows you to have a real conversation. Because as a seller, if I cannot create a genuine connection and have an authentic conversation with someone, the likelihood of selling is reduced.
Right. And you just painted a mental picture for me, which creates a shift where you talked about the professional steps into the arena first. And so in my mind, it's, they're being observed. Right? So the professional also needs to be aware that their behavior, right, is being observed.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's being assessed. And people are making decisions based on what they're hearing and what they're doing and what they're relating to. And that's powerful.
That's incredibly powerful. And that's one of the first chapters in the new book.
Okay.
Because if we don't get our heads right about what we're doing, meaning we're selling, if we don't get our heads right, because we are going to be evaluated,
Yes.
then we're going to try to do something that's not natural, normal, or fake it. And this is not sometimes a popular opinion. If you exchange something for money, you're selling.
Okay.
If I'm I've met accountants that say I don't sell. Yes, you do. If you get new clients, you sell. If you're an attorney and you get new clients, you sell.
Right.
But what's interesting is we try to hide from that because of our own preconceived notions about what salespeople are.
Right.
We hide behind the fact that we're a seller.
Wow.
And I'll tell a quick story if I could. So someone in my life, I won't talk about no names or anything. This person graduated college and became a financial planner.
Right.
Okay. And did not sell anything for a very long time. Got into financial challenges. And then something switched in that person's life and they started selling. And they became, and still are to this day, one of the most sought after specialists in what he does. And one day I asked this person, what happened? And he goes, I realized I sold insurance. I'm like, what do you mean? So he got out of college and became a financial planner, which was a fancy word for I sell insurance. But he didn't want to admit he sold insurance because that was sleazy. So I'm a financial planner. And then it switched in his brain. No, I sell insurance.
Right.
And he started selling insurance and sold a lot of it built a company, sold that company.
Wow.
So whether you're an insurance salesman, an accountant, a corporate sales position, or whatever it is, embracing the fact that you're a seller and owning that
Excuse me.
allows you to move forward well.
And I think the language and the positioning, which is part of the story, is that we are so focused on the tactical, the products, the service, the technical aspects, right? The specifications, and we're trying to sell the widgets, right? The pill, I always use this analogy of the doctor eventually, right? If he wants to give you a prescription, right, the solution is still loaded in a pill, right? However, everything that has to happen before you even have the chance to prescribe, that's the sales environment.
That is.
Right? So most people want to say, buy my widget. Like, I know you enough to prescribe this medication to you. No, you don't. Right? That's what you're saying, that the conversation has to happen. We have to understand the journey people are on before we then have the opportunity to build that relationship and then that transaction.
Yeah, it's not about the widget.
But people make it the widget.
They do make, and that's the challenge, is they make it about the widget. And the widget is irrelevant. It's the reason you're going to purchase the widget that's important. And high-level selling is all about understanding the reason you're going to make a purchase. You may or may not purchase from me, but even if I allow you as a buyer to make it about the widget, I've already lost, because there's a reason. There's a reason you're buying the widget.
Right. And so that conversation, what you're saying is the sales conversation needs to be bigger than the widget. It will land, eventually the transaction lands at the widget level.
Yes.
However, a sales professional needs to be more high level, right? Understanding the journey.
Yes.
Understanding the pain points, understanding the struggles, the challenges of the prospects, building connection, empathizing with them, seeing them, and also making sure they know that we care and we want to help them. And then out of those conversations, there will be back and forth, and then you can land on how many widgets do you have.
Right. There's two things that just popped into my head. One is when I have this conversation, even with senior people. So I have this type of conversation with very senior, experienced sales leaders. And I'll have this conversation where it's not about the widget. And then when I hear them say, yeah, but we sell widgets, I knew they're not getting it. Because yeah, but means I don't believe what you just said. Because but is I'm discounting everything I just said. The power of a transformative sales conversation is in the question, so what? What I mean by that is, if I'm selling you a widget, we'll just keep selling widgets here this morning, and you say you want to buy a widget, I'll ask, okay, so you have the widget, what are you going to get from it? Like, well, what's the value in the widget? And you'll say something, and I'll go, so what?
Exactly. Who cares, right?
Okay, so like, what are you really trying to get? And just that 2-word sentence question can change the conversation.
Right. And I'm loving this because I have a math mind, and there's a lot of design thinking in my world as well. And I'm almost painting a picture. If we had a board here, I'll be drawing this. And so this is fantastic because I always say passion sells, desire buys. So the passion, we have to embody the passion for solving on behalf of, but ultimately the desire is what creates the shift. And so that's the emotional pull, right? When we talk about magnetism and all of that, is that ultimately the buyer has a shift they have to make. Because we're also, let me bring this in, we're also in an environment where many prospects are being made to believe, and maybe they can find a lot of solutions online, but they're still making assumptions that they can get a solution without making an investment. Have you seen that behavior?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you have any thoughts on that behavior? Because it's like almost like don't touch that. Like it's.
Yeah, I mean, I also come from a belief that not all prospects are good prospects.
Okay, so yes.
So if you have someone that is going to force that type of a transactional approach, you get to make a choice.
Okay.
As a seller.
Yes.
Do you want to allow that to continue? Maybe you do. Or do you say, you know what, we're not a good fit?
Okay.
That's one of the core principles of the new book is it is all about awareness of where you are and what you're trying to do, and an acknowledgement if you're going to go in a different direction. So in that case, if someone calls me and says, I want to buy some sales training, and they won't let me do discovery and talk about their business, how much is it? I'm gonna say to myself, okay, I have a choice. I can either tell them it's X thousand dollars, and if they buy, they buy. Probably not going to be the best client because they're going to want tactics and transact. You know, or I can say, you know what, we're not a good fit. My normal reaction and what I would do 99 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100 is say we're not a good fit.
Okay, I love it. So what you're also introducing is a protective layer for the sales professional, right?
Yeah.
Is serve, right? Listen, right? Learn the journey. Do all that you need to do on your side. However, also don't deny your own integrity and your own standards, right? Be in charge of that, and don't lower it just because you
Right.
have the wrong prospects.
The book is the Engage sales system, and Engage is an acronym to go from prospecting to close, and to have key behaviors at each point in the process, and high level execution in, I would say anything, in most things, is about a good process run consistently over time.
Yes.
So understanding, like, okay, I'm trying to prospect. What are the key fundamentals of good prospecting? There's no magic bullet in prospecting. There, you know, contrary to what you see online, there's no magic email cadence. There's no buy this from me and it'll transform your life. It's probably decent, but it doesn't change how you approach prospecting. It just gives you a quick fix.
Right.
It's like I don't eat a lot of sugar, but sometimes I do eat sugar. And when I eat it, I'm like, oh, that was amazing. but it actually negatively impacts me because it impacts my sleep and then how I feel the next day. That may seem silly to have that analogy. I see people that go to the quick fix as like that, is they feel great for a moment.
Right.
And maybe they send a couple of these new emails and they get a response, but in most cases they revert back to their behavior before they spent $47.
Right.
So because there's no fundamental shift inside.
Right. And the last time you were here, we talked about the quick,
Yeah.
the quick fixes as well.
It's
And-
one of my heartbeats that I say all the time because I just see it. Whether it's sales leadership, sales, doesn't matter. It's always about the quick fix.
Right. And then in general, I also see that there's actually this need. It's growing more to layer on education as part of sales process, because the world has run on the old way of doing things for so long, and I feel like there's so many things obsolete. Right? When you think about digital acceleration, digital disruption, that part of the struggle many people are facing is they're trying to use the old way to try and sell in a new environment. And it's not working, and people are frustrated and all of those things. And I actually see frustration on both sides, the buying side and the selling side.
Wouldn't disagree.
And so I feel like there's this refresh, there's this opportunity to have a new conversation like we're having, where we actually talk about what we need to talk about openly, because many people are already experiencing what we're talking about now, but they may not be able to express it, or maybe they've not heard other people say it out loud, that this is the world we're living in now. And in order for us to move into the future of the world, we will have to develop new methodologies or expand on existing one or upgrade, right? Our thinking, our perspective, how we relate with one another, how we engage with one another, how we sell. Because ultimately, this is part of what led me to some innovative work I did in human design, right? Based on biblical human design, of getting to understand the origin of the heart, the mind, the emotions, the will, the feelings of people, because we're living in a time where it's not enough to do the technical, right? Buy this, buy now. we are coming back to the heart of how do you feel about the decisions you're making?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the future that you will step into when you say yes? How do you feel about remaining where you are and not making that decision? Because there's also consequence of inaction.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So empowering sales professionals, and at least myself, ourselves as well, to say, okay, how do we help people even navigate their own inner universe better? Because many people are disconnected from their own world.
Yeah.
And so
They are.
right? So thinking brings us back into ourselves, but the world is pulling people away from themselves into, we'll think for you. And so many people are being led into the outside world and being dragged off their own place of peace and calm.
Yeah. Think of, oh man, we're going to go off all day here. Think about social media.
Yes.
Okay. If you want to do something, well, in sales, you can find 100 different perspectives. And based on my experience, 99 of those 100 will be the external, tactical, do this. Where I believe my message goes against tradition is fine. The tactic is fine. But unless you change what's happening inside, then the tactic is not going to work, and you're going to choose not to do it.
Right.
So it's, based on my personal experience with social media, it's really hard to have a message resonate in 60 seconds that makes someone think. And I work with sellers and leaders every single day. And whether I'm live or on a virtual video call, I can see the fear in their eyes when you challenge them to actually do something that they just told you would be beneficial. You say, do it. And they're like, oh, I can't do that.
Yes.
So that's where, the tactic is fine. And tactics are, instruction on how to do something is important. I believe the value is, how would you do it? So here's setting an agenda is one of the hills that I die on. I have a structure that I teach about setting a sales call agenda. And it's all about creating an atmosphere to help someone buy.
Yes.
And start this collaborative process from the start. And someone will tell me that, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then I'm like, okay, so you try it. It's just, it's interesting.
Right. So you talked about the 60-second, right, which is what the social media world is running on now. What it does do is it allows people to emote. So it actually activates emotions. So the chemical reactivity, dopamine is created.
That's right.
And it's addictive, but it doesn't transform people's lives. That's the key.
It does not.
And one of the things I actually also challenge people to do, because we are in the field where we are helping people become more creatively productive. And so part of the training and education that we have to offer is to also help people understand that your creativity and productivity can only be unlocked when you think positively about what you're trying to solve. And so we also have to show them the barriers, the things that is stopping them from being creatively productive. And part of it is the scroll. It's reprogramming people to, it's rewarding, because as humans, the emotional chemical reactivity is designed to be a reward for creative productivity. The human wiring is that the chemical reactivity is produced when it's pleasure, right? When you've done something that you reward yourself and say, yes, I did this, right? And so the doing aspect of our life, the creative aspect of our life, when we touch things, when we do things, when we experience one another, emotion is the part of the reward process. But now we're taking that reward process, that sugar, that addiction, that refinement, we've refined everything, including the reward process of being humanly productive. We are giving that to people who don't have to do anything, just sit down and scroll.
That's right, yeah.
And so now, when you ask people to do, when it's time to now produce, where is the dopamine? It's supposed to be given after you've done the work, but we've layered it up front.
That's right. And
so
the way that all of these systems are created, you're just continually fed more and more information that
Yes.
supports your view.
Yes.
So the deeper you get into that cycle, the harder it is to get out.
Exactly.
And what I find people do is they think they're making a different, like they think they're thinking in a different way. They're actually thinking differently in the same box,
Yes.
which means they're not thinking differently.
Right.
So in order to change the outcome, change what you're trying to, change the goal, what you get, it's important to come up out of that box
Right.
and stand over here. And if you don't have someone or something in your life to help you do that, then you'll just continue to get deeper and deeper and more convinced that you're right.
Absolutely. And let me layer on science, because you're going into a very deep topic here. I'll pull us out very soon.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right.
But the science of it is that when it's now time to do meaningful work, people are starting from a negative emotional space now, because you've given so much positivity, positive reward, dopamine, happy, laughing, everything, not doing anything. And in order to be productive, we actually have to subject ourselves to pain, right? Patience, all of the things that is required to do meaningful work as humans, to endure, to listen, to be patient, not to be hasty. Humans are being rewired to be hasty, not to think, and they're being rewarded handsomely, emotionally, for all of the things that's going to stop us from being productive. And now when it's time to be productive, we've not been trained to be productive anymore. So productivity goes down because people now have to say, what are you going to give me? Like, you have to feed me positive emotions for me to do this work up front.
Yes.
No longer afterwards.
Oh gosh.
So give me more. Like now in the workplace, employee retention, it's like, listen, if this work is too tough, if you're not making me smile every day, if you're not giving me the ping pong table, if you're not bringing some joy or dopamine to this engagement, I'm out. I'll go find an employer that will feed my dopamine addiction.
I learned years ago, I don't know how many years ago now, there's 3 different types of motivation.
Yes.
There's fear motivation, which means if you don't do this, I'm going to fire you.
You can do that,
which works long enough for that person to get another job.
Yes.
There's incentive motivation, which is
Yes.
exactly what you're talking about, is I will do this if you give me this. And what happens is what they give you has to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's it.
So it's not sustainable.
Right.
There's attitude motivation, which is the permanent internal shift
Yes.
that the work that I do tries to bring.
Yes.
People come kicking and screaming.
Yes.
Some people have 1 or 2 conversations with me and realize that this is actually work and never come back.
And that's the last thing. That's what we've always had as humans. That's what has built economies from zero to everything. The hope of the future, that tomorrow is better than today, and you're ready to do the hard work today for that reward tomorrow. But if we want that tomorrow now, we don't want to do any work. If you have tomorrow now, then why do you want to work?
I mean, you can't get tomorrow today. I mean, by definition, you can't get tomorrow today.
Social media is telling us you can eat your cake and have it.
You're right. You're right. And look, I'm an old guy trying to figure out how to deliver a message like I'm saying in less than 60 seconds. It is really hard.
Just make people laugh.
It's
easy.
Yeah.
It's easy.
I can fall down. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go there.
No, this is fun. I told you this was going to be fun.
I could slip and fall in my driveway and get 1 million views, but I get a really good sales topic for 45 seconds and get 200.
And so I love this conversation because it's quite transparent. And so what then do we do? So this is where, for me, the practical side of it is, from a strategic standpoint, we understand human behavior. We understand why humans behave the way we do today.
Well, we do.
Okay, we do. We do. And we still have to work with it.
That's right.
So one of the strategy is because if we don't work with it, where's the world going? Right? So for me, part of it is opening fresh conversations like this that is quite transparent, that helps us see what we're doing to one another, and also share what we could be doing better. And then letting people decide, because that is where I trust humanity. So this is what I trust, that humans fall into these gimmicks when somebody's not educating them out of it. Because once this type of conversation, once people understand the psychology of scrolling, this is what it's doing to you, and this is how it's controlling you. Now you know. Not knowing is what does more damage. But I have seen, in fact, I've seen my community, the people I educate, they now tell me, Toyin, I'm doing social media fast. I'm walking away a little bit so I can focus on my life.
Yes.
So I can think about my future. Because they've heard me say, okay, this is the time, turn off their social media, get your comfortable chair, get your coffee, get your tea, get back to being human, right? Print this paper out, you're going to need to think.
There's a great, you've heard me, I think, talk about this book in a different context than this. There's a great book by Richard Rohr called Falling Upward. And he is a Franciscan priest, so a really deep thinking book. And he talks about two halves of life. First half is what we're talking about, which is that quick fix, scroll, information, but no transformation part of your life. The second half is when you move past that and realize that all of this is not, I call it the Matrix. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, but first half is not real. It's all manufactured. The second half is when you see the first half is not real, whether it's in selling or in leadership or in life and spiritual, whatever. Most of our systems, especially in the US, are designed to keep us in that first half. Even many churches today, just to bring that in, are designed to keep everyone in that first half. When the transformation happens and you see what we're talking about, one, it's sad because you're like, oh my goodness. But to your point, like for me, I'll give you another example. Like I have to be the person that I'm helping other people to be.
Yes.
And I'm usually a word of the year guy. Like for years and years, I've had a word of the year, persistence and faith. But at the end of 2024, something hit me and I was like, that the word of the year has been great, but I'm really trying to lean into like demonstrating and inviting people into this new space. So what can I do differently? So went through an exercise and I landed on a question of the year. And my question of the year, 2025, is what do I need to rethink to become who I'm meant to be? So the question is about my continued transformation so I can be better equipped when people are ready to
Absolutely.
take the jump.
And I love this conversation. I know you and I went deep there. And ultimately bringing it back to sales is I see the new type of sales professional as somebody who is actually helping people come out of that into higher levels or higher realms of understanding, and giving them the tools, the bridge, the solutions that takes them from where they are right now into a higher elevated emotional space, a place where they are more powerful, more free, more at peace, more joy, right? Because ultimately, people need support when they are not fully where they ought to be.
That's right. And most salespeople, this is based on my experience, this is like 28, almost 30 years of experience working with thousands and thousands and thousands of salespeople. They're all in that first half. They're all they're not asking good questions. They're not connecting. And some are very successful doing this. So I'm not saying you can't be successful.
Right.
Where the real transformation and the almost, I don't want to use, I guess I will use the word effortless, where it becomes like really genuinely simple, like the tagline of the book, the Engaged Sales System, helping sales professionals sell more, sell faster, and have fun. It becomes fun when you're genuine and you are like, I'm here to help. And the person that I'm selling to will see that difference. And they'll probably push back. Or I've had people tell me, other salespeople aren't doing that. I'm like, they're probably not.
Right.
But I'm going to.
Right.
Because my job is to help you get to where you want to be.
Right.
And challenge is at the right spot.
Exactly. And help, guide, encourage them to make the decisions that puts them in a better place.
That goes back to influence.
Absolutely.
Influence the outcome.
Absolutely.
I mean, high-level sellers, it's all about connecting and influencing and attaching.
And we need more. So we need more sales professionals like this.
We so do.
And so that's the mature, the growth, right? Because there is a spiritual side to sales, right? There is human-to-human connectivity and all of those things. So I think the world really, we're talking about something really deep here. It's sales, but I think we're also talking about human transformation, human ascension, human elevation into higher realms of potentiality and a sense of possible.
I mean, think about performance.
Yes.
In anything. Sales, I'm a huge golfer. The same principles that I apply to sales, I apply to my golf game to try to get better. And it's all about how am I trying to transform as a person to understand what's happening on the course or what's happening in front of the prospect so I can react the way that is going to give the best outcome.
Right. And so this conversation is going to go offline, I'm sure, because we've just touched a lot of deep, very deep human transformational journey that we all have to go on. So if you're a sales professional, business owner, I guess for me, be encouraged, right?
Yeah.
Be encouraged that you're not alone. The world is transforming. The world is shifting. There's a new, better way of engaging with people. We're all, no matter what AI, GPT is, when all is still said and done, we all need to continue to learn how to connect with people, how to listen to one another, how to have mind to mind, and then offer support. Offer encouragement, offer tools, right? Because for me, when I talk about value, I always decompose value, the concept of value, as things useful for advancement of another person, right? So value can be water, it can be tools, it can be even motivation, inspiration. So you can sell things, right, that people value, that makes people live a better life and also helps them achieve what it is they want to achieve better.
Amen.
Awesome. So parting words, I know we've said a lot. Any other success tips? I know you've shared a lot, but let me give you the opportunity to just share what's in your mind.
I made a couple of notes, and I'll leave this. From a sale, these will be from a sales perspective. One is trust the process. Successful selling is not about any magic moment, magic tactic. It is about executing the right steps consistently. And it starts with knowing what they are. So that's the first thing. The second thing is detach from ego.
Okay.
We are ego-driven people. That leads to embarrassment. It leads to irritation. It leads to frustration. When you detach from ego, detach from self, then you are able to be free as you're selling because you're not worried about looking stupid or asking that stupid question. There are no stupid questions as far as I'm concerned. So detach from ego. And then the last one, I'll just give you three, is master deep discovery. What I mean by that is really understanding the true motivation, not why they would buy from you or me, but why they're going to buy. Why they're going to buy. That's the so what question from earlier. Is it really comes down to, okay, I'm not asking you to buy from me, but I truly want to understand the reasons you're going to buy. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you going to get? How is life going to be great or better? What are you trying to fix? And not focus on whether it's going to be with me. Because most salespeople or most sales processes or sellers will agree that no decisions, meaning someone that decides not to buy, is like the death. No decisions kill because you waste your time. And the deeper you get into an engagement with a prospect and they say no, the more time you've wasted. So the goal is not to get someone to buy from you. The goal is to get them to make a decision to buy. And then if you do a really good job, more likely than not, they'll buy from you. So it's about facilitating a decision. And if I can help someone make a decision to buy, and I do that genuinely, and I do that deeply and with humility and integrity, more people than not are going to buy from me.
So could it be that most people feel they don't need to buy? Because if the whole work that the sales professional has to do is to get people to decide to buy, could it be that most people are living life with what they know, thinking what they know is the best, and still bumping up challenges,
Oh, yeah.
but they don't know that they need to shift?
Absolutely. You're spot on.
They're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and getting the same results, but there's nothing in them that says you need to make a new decision.
That is exactly right. So we're probably, I know you're trying to wrap up here.
Okay.
That is the point of this entire conversation.
Okay.
Is if I allow a prospect just to make the same type of decision, in software world, we call that rip and replace.
Yes.
If I'm just going to rip product A and replace it with product B, you may get another button or two, but the reality is you haven't changed much.
Yeah.
How can I help you think differently about what you're trying to do? It may be rip and replace and. So it's not or, it's maybe you buy this and something else, or buy this and do this differently. So what you just said is a wonderful summary of this whole conversation. Is high-level selling is about getting someone to think differently about what they're trying to accomplish and why they're trying to accomplish it. Because when I can do that, I can help transform the solution.
Absolutely. And this really, in my own software world, fits into this human design where thinking differently, as we're talking about, helping people make new decisions, because the process of making a decisions in our life actually creates a new belief system.
Yes.
That's how we're designed.
Yes.
Is that, and the new beliefs create a new reality and a new life in manifestation. So if we're running life with old beliefs, we get old results. But if we can believe something better about ourselves, the future, if someone can help us believe higher, believe better, believe more, that's actually elevating and upgrading us to higher levels of reality.
Yes, and that's permanent.
And it's permanent.
It's a shift in a belief is more than likely going to lead to a permanent shift in behavior.
Absolutely.
But the tactical stuff is trying to force the behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I love that, because there's a lot of science in my world of beliefs and feelings and behavior, and they're all connected. So you just helped me there. This was fantastic.
Awesome. As
Thank
always,
you.
it's so much
Thank you
fun.
so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this exchange, this conversation, very deep and very useful. And so I look forward to also bringing you more resources next week. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Quantum Leap. And thank you, Mr. James. As always,
it.
please come back again.
Anytime.
See you on next week. Bye for now.